Hello and welcome to Real Men Feel. This is Andy Grant after a blab calamity of trying to get in. We had to. We're on with a brand new link today, but I think everyone has caught up with us. This is Real Men Feel, our weekly blab fest where we talk about the baggage of being a dude, share the emotional range of men. Sometimes we have guests, sometimes we don't. Today we have a full house. It is very exciting. With me, as always, is my co-host Appio Hunter.
Greetings.
How's it going, Appio?
Really good. It's a rainy day here in Salt Lake, but loving it nonetheless.
Cool. It is. I'm in Massachusetts. It is 30 degrees today, and there's snow like 20 miles north of me. Ooh. And it's supposed to be summer.
Yeah, right.
And joining us this week is, let's see, spiritual psychologist. I just made that up for you today. Author, coach, speaker, the guy that loves the universe, international playboy, man about town, coming from the UK.
Sean. Me, Andy. That's me. Good to see you guys. Thanks for having me on.
Hey, it's good to see you too.
Yeah, pleasure. So, we're teasing this whole episode that we've been talking about spirituality, positive psychology, and New Age bullshit. And that term got me excited because everything that I do kind of daily now, I used to think was New Age bullshit. So, do you think there's anything that, Sean, is anything that is universally New Age bullshit, or is New Age bullshit, does someone think everything is bullshit?
Oh, well, see, when I hear the phrase New Age bullshit, what I think is, to be spiritual, you have to be a vegetarian. To be spiritual, you can't drink coffee. That's what I call New Age bullshit.
So it's more the rules, the fake rules about being New Age.
Rules that come with, I'm a spiritual person. That's what I think is New Age bullshit. And what's so crazy is you'll find, you land yourself in so many of these spiritual conferences, and it's about love and compassion, but people are quite cliquey, and it's like, you're not doing this properly because you ate a burger, and that's New Age bullshit to me.
Awesome. Glad we cleared that up.
Mm-hmm.
So is there let's see, are there any rules that you've come across that actually serve you?
Well, I mean, I'm sure a lot of the rules serve us. So meditating every day, I mean, I got to do that, otherwise I'd go insane. So that's the rule that serves me. I think the bullshit then, so thanks for getting me clear on this, Andy. The bullshit is when people maybe cast you aside a little bit because you're not following their spiritual path. That's the bullshit.
So you're not meditating the right way, right?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. I'm glad I got clear on that.
Cool. And Appio, what about you? Are there anything that you do now that you once considered bullshit, or things you look forward to not feeling like bullshit to you in the future?
Well, I have to agree with Sean as far as the rules and regulations, and sometimes the judgment that comes along from the supposedly enlightened community that, if you're not vegan, if you don't meditate every day, if you don't, do all these certain things, that you're somehow not enlightened, you're somehow not, part of the New Age movement or whatever. However, for me, one of my daily practices, funny enough, I try to meditate. I don't always succeed. I have found that my monkey brain, my monkey mind tends to serve me very well. So I actually just let it run rampant. And what I do for my form of meditation is pay attention to the consistent messages that seem to repeat. So if there's something that repeats itself over and over and over again, I pay attention to that. So that's my form of meditation. And yes, I will oftentimes do quick little breaks throughout the day. Take, for instance, 1 or 2 minutes here and there, take a few deep breaths, center myself, and then keep going again.
Yeah. Well, a lot of people get this confused, but to me, the real practice of meditation is doing your best to have that empty, calm space, but noticing when it's not there and coming back to it. It's not perfectly being empty-headed and still. It's that awareness and coming back to it, right?
Correct. Yes. It's very much the awareness piece.
Awesome. And I want to call out Sarah, who's hopped into our fourth seat. So what are your views on bullshit?
On the bullshit, I totally agree that I used to put it in a category of maybe woo-woo, but nothing's woo-woo anymore when you're creating your own reality. Right, Sean?
Oh my gosh, absolutely. You just learn to accept the craziest shit, which is good because a lot of them things what I love is being in a space like this with guys like you, where we can just say things like, oh, don't worry, the universe is going to take care of that. or, oh, you don't want to put that in, you don't want to put that out there. And it's just like so normal. Like we wouldn't, bat an eye if we made comments like that. And I love more and more like the circles in my life, they're filled with them kinds of people where you can just say them things without having to give it any context or, preface it anyway. It's like, yeah, the universe is going to have to take care of that, or I'm going to have to speak to the universe about this.
How
and
long
everyone's
ago?
just like,
has it always been that way for you, Sean? Or
no, my gosh, no, absolutely not. I mean, I would say I really started getting into this when I was about 18 years old, and I don't think anybody around me was on board. I think I was almost apologetically talking about this stuff, or I was a bit embarrassed if I was referencing things. Like then it was like 2006. Everyone was watching The Secret, including me, and I wanted to talk to everyone about it. But I was treated a bit like I was ostracized, like I was a bit crazy, and what was I believing in? And I just think over the years, as I guess this became my job and I met more and more and more people, I now don't even think of that. It's just the majority of people I'm around, it's safe to say that with, oh, this is actually a good point. No, I just came to me. Even the people in my life that I guess aren't on board with that, I definitely don't have any kind of shame or reservation about talking about the universe, or I just got to send love to that, or I'm going to be more loving here. I guess people just now associate that with who I am, and that's great.
Yeah, I find like the more any one person awakens, you find yourself attracting new friends that kind of agree with that.
Absolutely,
or your old ones just kind of fall away, or they watch you silently and they're picking it up and following, but they're still kind of in the closet about it.
Oh my God, old friends. Sorry, go on, Apio.
No, that's okay, Sean. Go ahead, and then I'll jump in.
I was just going to say, there's a really profound moment I remember when I was 21, so I just graduated, and we went on this like club night out at university. And I was in this club, and I looked around, and all my friends were off doing different things. And I was just like, oh, shit, I'm going to have to get some new friends. Like, it was like this moment of, oh, they've just fallen away. And it was really sad and profound, actually. I was in this nightclub on my own in the dance floor. And that was the moment I was like, oh, yeah, them friends just fell away. I got that instantly. And but then, as you said, so many new people come in. And that's amazing.
And to say, I've had a very similar experience. Old friends have fallen away. People that I was once very, very close to and who I used to speak with regularly are no longer there. And, what's really funny that I've noticed is that I have had, to your point, Andy, that people very, very quietly follow me. And especially family, like extended family, cousins, aunts, uncles, and so forth. They won't say anything. They won't like any posts or anything like that I have on Facebook or any other social media. But when I see them or when I talk to them, they're like, I've been reading your posts. I really like them. But they're still, not wanting to like it publicly. Like, that's fine, whatever space you're in, that's okay. I have no issues with it. And, I actually do have to add something else to the bullshit list. And that is, you have to stay positive all the time. Mm-hmm. And that is something that, one of my nicknames is Happy Apio. People, most of the time, when they see me, they see the happy, boisterous, overly exuberant side of me. But I also have my very reflective moments. I have my moments when I'm not being positive or happy or whatever. I choose not to share that publicly. And sometimes, if it's really painful, I do choose to share that publicly. But no, you don't have to be positive all the time. If anything, embrace the contrast. Embrace the moments when you get knocked out of your happy seat.
Yeah, I fell into that trap myself the most.
Yeah.
Once you get known for loving the universe, how can you ever have a bad day? Right? Is that allowed?
Oh my God! Well, it's so funny we're having this conversation because I know that I definitely went a couple of years. Not feeling like I was allowed to tell anybody I was having a bad day, especially over at my Facebook page of that guy who loves the universe. I was like, this is only a place to post, the happy moments and the moments of joy and the moments of like ecstasy. But you want to know what? Like, I mean, we're all in life here, and that's one thing I came to learn. We're all going through life here, and not a single person, not one person looking on me or not one person following me is going to be experiencing a life of pure joy the whole time. And what a huge disservice I can do to anybody than to trick them into thinking that I am.
Absolutely.
And the biggest, like most relief moments for me are if I post something like, today was a really hard day. I got angry. I threw my fucking spiritual book against the wall. I was pissed off. And then you get about 50 people me too, me too, me too, me too. And that's just been so beneficial to me because it's real. And we're on the show Real Men Feel. That's just so much more real and so much more accurate. And it's so nice and so beautiful to navigate your life that way with the positive in mind and knowing that you're leaning into it, but also knowing that you're not always going to be there. There's more comfort in letting it go, knowing it's coming, letting it go, knowing it's coming.
Absolutely.
I mean, even my personality type, I think my personality type lends itself to being very reflective. And there's moments I kind of, love to go and feel sad for like a couple hours and listen to that music or watch that film or watch them TV shows, which are going to cause them emotions. And I'm going to be melancholy for the afternoon. And then tomorrow I might not be. And it's all good.
Yeah. The big, a definition of self-love that I've been using for a while is loving yourself or loving the universe, even when you hate yourself, right? So even when you're having a bad day or allowing yourself to feel everything, but still underneath that, you have this joy for the whole process or love of yourself, regardless of how you may be feeling in the moment.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, the process in its entirety versus, because the individual moments are going to make up the whole experience anyway.
Yeah,
and when you look back, aren't there some really beautiful things about them sadder moments? Mm-hmm. I mean, I think so anyway. I think when I look back, I can see something really profound and comforting in the times that were harder. So, yeah.
Yes.
So I'm not so scared of them when they come up in the present anymore either.
Some of where the greatest growth is coming from, having the experience. We've got some people chiming in on the side here too about it.
I've been kind of reading that. In fact, I like one of the comments here. It's a spiritual Christian. I go through the same thing, regarding family and standing out. That was in response to the comment that we had earlier about people who are willing to approve of you and willing to quietly support you, but they won't do so publicly. So, yeah, I can definitely appreciate that. And one of the things that Lee appreciates about you, Andy, is the fact that you are very authentic and very genuine, and that you are very publicly will share your ups and your downs. You've done that with all of us many times, and that's one of the things that we find is one of the great strengths in you, and being able to be a fantastic leader with the whole Real Men Feel movement, because you do feel, and you do so very, very authentically, and in some ways being very raw about it.
Yeah, and I get that still hearing that still makes me uncomfortable. I'm like, I got to hang up this blab. This blab's going south fast. Well, thank you.
But it's what we appreciate about you, for sure.
Yeah, and I just want to say at this point, Andy, I do think it's a wonderful movement, this Real Men Feel. Over here in the UK, we have a charity called CALM, which stands for the Campaign Against Living Miserably. And that's for men. And that is specifically for men. And I really see what's going on with Real Men Feel. It's such a huge movement. And what's so important is, this is a good conversation to get into. I guess there's been more of a cultural acceptance around women expressing emotions over time. And that's the whole nature of that charity I was talking about, CALM, Campaign Against Living Miserably, because it's almost giving men that permission to say, we know you feel too, it's okay. Yeah. And that's what you're doing here with this Real Men Feel.
It really is all about permission. The Western culture, I can't speak for the rest of the world. I can only talk about Western culture, and women can feel these emotions, men can feel these emotions, and to me that's the ultimate not even new age, that's the ultimate societal bullshit that we have.
Yes.
Right? Yeah, it brings
exactly.
up problems. It brings up a whole new set of issues that come with it. Like, for instance, if you're not a woman who expresses a lot of emotion, then what's wrong with that? Right. Nothing, but it gives that pressure that you're supposed to be.
You as a woman, you're acting too much like a man,
Yes. Yeah, exactly. There's a certain set of prescribed emotions that women are allowed to feel. Men, at least in Western culture, are not allowed to feel at all. Women are allowed to feel, but this range, this very narrow range, and then everything else is inappropriate. Having grown up in a very bicultural household myself, I can say that in the Latin culture, so for instance throughout Latin America, and this would, by extension, you could also include like Southern Europe, like Italy and Spain and Portugal. In that men are very expressive, men are very emotional. But they have an entirely other set of cultural issues, if you will, with regard to spirituality, with regard to how they look at psychology and their approach to it and so forth. There's one thing, as long as we're going to be touching on that particular subject and cultural expectations, what's true in both the Latin as well as in Northern European and American cultures is that if a man feels like he needs to get help for emotional challenges, it is frowned upon, period. And I think that is, I have many friends from Saudi Arabia, so I have some familiarity with the Arab culture as well. And in the Arab culture, again, going to try to get professional help is frowned upon, and
right.
especially with men.
Mm-hmm.
It's double pressure. I need some help, and I can't get it.
Yeah. I can't.
Exactly.
I need some help. I can't admit I need help, and once I get help, then I'm looked at upon as weak, and
Exactly.
I feel worse
somehow
than
not
I
a man.
started.
Yeah. It's like, that really just drives me batshit crazy. As long as we're talking about bullshit, and
Well, with movements just like the Real Men Feel movement, we're doing our part to break down that stigma. So
absolutely.
I guess we can get confident.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is a safe space as well. So if people want to join us, if they want to join the conversation on, in the chat and so forth, then absolutely do so. Share your opinions, share your thoughts, because that's how the movement grows. That's how it, continues to spread out there.
Right. And Real Men Feel certainly does not mean everyone must agree with me. Right? A real man can feel angry and bitter all the time. Like if that's authentically you, like go for it.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. In my work with men, that's what comes up is the mixed messages. Like, do you want me to be a man and be tough and say what I mean, or be angry if I want to feel angry, or am I going to get chastised for things that are naturally a masculine energy and coming out of me?
Well, all of the above, not the chastisement part, but, feel the anger, feel whatever it is, feel the other stuff as well. It's all part of being a complete human being. And even toss the gender aside, just being a human, period.
Right.
Even the chastisement, be okay with that.
Yeah.
Because really, like when you're authentically you, other people are going to get bothered by that and triggered because they're still, living small and denying who they are. So they're going to be pissed at you at times, and you just go take it as a badge of honor, right?
Right, and that's especially true if you have conditioned them over many, many years to a particular set of behaviors, and then when you start saying, I'm going to claim my authenticity, I'm going to be the real me, and if you do it quite suddenly, it takes some getting used to, and yes, there can be a lot of chaos in your relationships as a result. I have experienced that.
No way.
Well, yeah. In a big way.
Yeah, I don't think anybody that's gotten into sort of spirituality, personal growth movement, anything like that has tried to change themselves has not had the experience of someone else in their life not really liking the fact that you're changing. Right?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's especially true of those who are closest to you, because they've seen experienced the old ways of thinking, the old ways of behaving and so forth. And that's in many ways how they still see it. And unless they are on that journey with you and they choose to join you on that journey, that's going to continue to be how they see you and how they want to keep you in that particular place. At least that has certainly been my observation and my experience.
Yeah, I don't think people really want anyone else to stay miserable, but if they're used to you a certain way, they're more comfortable with that certain way.
Absolutely.
Because
and that brings up an interesting.
Those people around us need to change too, to keep up with us, or they fall behind, kind of.
Yeah, and Sarah, I love your question. What other bullshit do we see on this particular topic? Let's toss it out there.
I'm wondering for the chat over here. Come on, guys. We know there's more people, and they have something there.
Yeah, so people feel free to chime in. Sean, you looks like you have something to say about that.
I kind of want to throw a curveball in here and say that as a gay man, I feel like there is more permission for me to feel and express my emotions, and I just find that very interesting.
Yeah.
I just wanted to throw that curveball out there, I guess, because when we were having the conversation, I definitely have come across and noticed the barriers are around for men, and even for myself at times.
Yeah.
But I guess maybe it's just an in myself thing. I don't know, but I feel like in my life, I do have the permission to express how I feel.
Well, you're actually right on that particular point, Sean, because I've experienced the same thing. In fact, Andy and I have talked about this on a couple of different shows as well. How, as a gay man, I do seem to have more permission to be, more open. And it's funny because oftentimes I actually, it's when straight men approach me about it, they're looking for permission from me to be able to express how they feel, express their emotions. And it's almost like, is it okay? I'm like, of course it's okay.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. Absolutely.
Well, it's interesting because Sarah's asked here in the corner, what belief is causing this? And I find that really interesting. What belief is causing it?
Yeah, because that's the thing, even on the surface, or maybe it's not related, but that came to me when you were just talking, is on the surface, it's like there's this way that we're expected. But when you get one-on-one with somebody, even two manly men together,
Right, yeah. And there's that joke. There's that joking goes like, yeah, I love you, man. And even though they mean it, they almost have to turn it into like a joke in some ways.
Yeah.
Or I have friends that will only tell other guys that they love them if they're drunk. Because it's all fear of embarrassment. And it goes like, Sean, you're saying as a gay man, you have more freedom to have emotions. So as a straight man, if I had emotions, I was like, well, does that mean I'm gay? Like, is that the defining thing? Like, no.
Well, yeah, absolutely. Right. So I completely get that. Like, for straight men, it's associated. Oh, this is fucking my brain. This is so good. So for a straight man to express emotions, it's, I guess, associated and has connotations, like you said, of being weak, of being more effeminate, all them things. So yeah, I mean, and that's another block, and that's another cause. But just thinking about Sarah's question, what belief is causing this? What's the belief? And I'm not about to answer this. I'm actually asking, what's the belief which causes a gay man possibly more permission to feel their emotions? Is that just the cultural expectation again? I
would say that yes, it is kind of a cultural expectation, and there's also, and it is a cultural thing, to tie in the belief with the culture. Like I mentioned earlier, in Latin America, men are very expressive. They can be very, very emotional, but they just have their other sets of cultural expectations that are kind of placed on them. The bit about, I look at what I perceive, and this is just my own conclusion that I've reached, is that the reason why gay men have more room to express emotion is because they are perceived as being more effeminate, even though there are plenty of gay men out there who are more masculine than an entire football team. There's still that cultural association. And so therefore, because gay men are somehow more effeminate, they are therefore allowed to express emotion more frequently.
It goes back to, it was the show last week talking about men allowing for femininity and masculinity.
Absolutely.
Because before we're man or woman, we're just human. As a human being, we all have the right to all of our emotions. That's what and that comes down to positive psychology. That's why I love that field too, Sean.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's really interesting, but I do think it's possibly, I'm sure it's a global thing, but when I think about it specifically being a Western thing, because I work over at the university in Liverpool, and a lot of our students that come from the United Arab Emirates, a lot of the men there, they'll meet each other, they'll greet each other by kissing on both cheeks. And that's just like the done thing. So it possibly is a Western thing, particularly.
Yes.
But do they show more emotion beyond that just kind of ritualistic greeting?
I don't know. I don't know.
I can, we actually house students from the Middle East here at my house. So I can tell you that, just from observing their interactions with each other, that they can be more emotional. There still are certain restrictions as far as the range of emotions that they are allowed to express. But I have observed that, yes, they do tend to be a little bit more emotional than the Northern European / American men. So,
why do you think that is? What do you think? What cultural support brought them that, you know, in their upbringing? What is there some components there? Like I'm doing a leading question here. I mean, I was thinking the spirituality part of it, but I guess it still opens it up.
I would say yes and no, not so much, because certainly from at least what I've observed, what I have seen anyway, the cultural component seems to go back far, far longer than any religious influences. Now, keeping in mind that before Islam came along, most of the Middle East was actually Christian, and there are many. Sorry,
having more. I just mean spiritual in general. I'm curious if that's part of it, just being more connected to spirituality in your daily life, it being more of a norm than something that you go just on Sunday for, say.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I find that the person who is more spiritual versus religious tends to be a lot more accepting of the full range of emotions and being able to express those emotions as well. I absolutely do see that.
Okay.
Straight, gay, or straight, it doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Spirituality definitely plays a role, I believe, because once you transcend labels, once you transcend religious dogma, and you actually connect to, you know, what I would call a higher spiritual reality, then all that falls by the wayside, and you can be a full and complete human being.
Much like the discussion earlier. How New Age bullshit is the thing about rules, and religion seems to have more rules and structure than spirituality, right? Yeah.
And Appio, I can really speak to what you're saying. I know my research in positive psychology, it lended itself to like the three main contributing factors to somebody who is, you know, living a happier, emotionally expressive life is, well, one would be emotional intelligence, one would be mindfulness, but one would be spirituality. And it's when you can kind of, I guess, contemplate a life beyond the physical, when you connect with someone on a deeper level, when you can find purpose and meaning in your life, they're things which are really going to lead to an emotionally healthy you.
Absolutely, yes.
Things associated with spirituality. But then it's just, I think, a good question, I guess, for this call is, so them things, so, you know, finding purpose and meaning, having high emotional intelligence, mindfulness, are they considered effeminate activities, qualities, or would you say they're pretty gender neutral?
I'd say they're gender neutral.
I would say, yeah.
Yeah. And you know, being somebody who taps a lot into spiritual energy and being very aware of that, since I do channel a lot of that spiritual energy, I can say that from the perspective of, you know, make no difference whatsoever. It is the wholeness. It is the completeness. It is, you know, again, you know, we do have, you know, the yin, the gender for me represents the yin and the yang, the balance. But, you know, when in spirit, you know, when connected with the, you know, with that higher realm, there really is no gender. It is, you are fully complete. You're both. You're yin and yang.
Yeah, I mean, that's the challenge and the fun of being human. Taking that spirit that's got everything, and now you're trying to live in a confined thing with different.
Yeah, well, I think even some spiritual teachers would say just by identifying as a man or a woman is a disservice to your spirituality. So
yeah, I totally buy that. Yeah, good.
Yeah, I would call that borderline bullshit.
Borderline bullshit. It's like,
because part of identifying is an experience. You know, choosing to have that physical experience is choosing to have that particular experience in that body. And of course, you know, this would be a subject for an entirely different show, talking about, you know, experience versus, you know, transgender and, you know, everything else. But you know, that's a whole different thing. But yeah. Here's a question that Lee just tossed out there. Maybe Sean, you mean that we're all one?
Not what I meant. I was, and I wasn't even speaking about my beliefs. I was saying, like, I have heard in all these spiritual worlds, just by identifying as, you know, a man, a woman, an American, an English person, or whatever the label is, that will, you know, I guess it's somewhat cut off your connection to spirit. But I mean, I don't personally know how much credit that gives to my spiritual experience.
Like, those are all limitations, so that they limit view. But yeah, I don't think they cut us off from spirituality.
I guess it limits you thinking about who you truly are, this huge, expansive, I guess, non-gendered being.
Yeah,
but
I'm sure the more labels you put on yourself or accept, the tougher it is to climb out to the truth, probably.
Well, I would say that there's a difference between a label versus an awareness. And I make that distinction because to me, a label is something that you accept and that you confine yourself. Whereas an awareness is something that, I can be this, I can be this, I can be this. I can experience all of these different things. I'm still part of the one. I'm still whole. I'm still complete. I'm still one. But I can experience all these other things without necessarily being confined to those particular spaces.
But as you're going through life and getting those labels, or they're being assigned to you, and you're going, oh, that's what I am? Oh, that's what I am? That's sense.
Right, exactly. Yeah, that I could see how some spiritual teachers would say that, how some spiritual teachers would say that those labels, and once you accept them and confine yourself to the label, that could cut you off from your spirituality. Absolutely. I can see that.
And to change the subject a little bit, Sean, with all the pictures, with all the movement around being that guy who loves the universe, how did that start? What prompted that?
Do you want to know what? It started with me. I was going to a conference and I was getting business cards made, and I really didn't know what job title to put on myself. I guess going back to labels. And I was like, well, I'm not a life coach. I'm not a writer. I'm not a energy healer. I just thought all these kind of titles just didn't really fit to me. And I thought, how would people describe me if I wasn't around? And it was Sean, that guy who loves the universe. And that's kind of how it started, as a bit of a universe-loving movement. I begun on Facebook, and it's been a very exciting 4 years because of it.
The universe responded to you.
The universe responded to me, and boy, did it!
It loved you back.
Yeah, it loved me back, and I remember that very much. And I've over the past 6 months, I've been working with an author called Robert Holden, and that's one thing that he always does in our sessions together is let's remember how much the universe loves us back. And that's been so beneficial to me, because I always was that guy who loves the universe. Life is good. Let's actually stop and contemplate how much the universe loves us back, and that's just amazing.
Yeah. For years, I dealt with depression and suicidal shit for a long time, and one of the affirmations that served me the most is, I love life and life loves me, and it's a two-way street. It's got to be.
Life loves me.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. And when you actually start to mean it, not just as an affirmation, but when you actually start to feel it and mean it, it's like, oh, wow, that is truly transformative.
One thing that is so interesting is when we look at spirituality and how that can lend itself to how we feel. So people start to get interested in spirituality, and it's hugely affirming to them. So let's take, for example, The Secret. When that came out, everyone was loving it. I was one of them. But then I guess you start to experiment with your own spirituality, and you don't always get the results you want. And because of your spiritual awareness, you associate that with, well, I'm bad. I'm not good enough at this visualization. I'm not good enough at this attraction. And I think that can cause such a tremendous amount of, feeling sadness and feeling down on yourself. And that is definitely the flip side of the coin. That's why it's so important that you're someone who can identify between new age bullshit, because you could really get down on yourself thinking that you're just not good at this spiritual stuff.
What?
Yeah.
What would you say is your number one or top five or whatever? What are the bullshit beliefs that are keeping people from realizing their own connection to the universe? Sean.
I'm thinking. Do you want to know what? The big thing that I guess I always come down to, and I always kind of comfort myself with, is I am enough. I did that fine. That was the best I could do. I'm doing fine. I'm enough. That's what it would always come back to for me. It's like even over the past the past 12 months where I've been doing a lot of business for myself, I've fucked up sometimes, and it's like going to that place first of all, which is a lot of people would fuck up in their first year of business. You're doing just fine. You're enough. And I guess having that compassion and time for myself, which I used to not have, I think I definitely would. I'd be walking on eggshells for my own mind, because I wouldn't give myself a break once. I got it wrong once. I had one conversation where I said the wrong thing. I went to a party and I felt awkward and I was just so down on myself. And now I have a lot more patience and compassion for myself and understand that everybody I meet is going through their own thing. And there are times, no matter how much I love the universe, no matter how much my life develops, all of a sudden it could blindside me. I could go to an event. I could feel so socially awkward, out of my depth and weird. And that's going to happen sometimes. And I can't stop that from happening. But what I know is that's okay, Sean, you're enough. Just not this time. It's fine.
To learn there.
Yeah.
Yeah. It comes back to always doing your best and realizing that your best fluctuates and changes based on.
I love that. My best fluctuates. Yeah. And it's saying that to yourself. It's like, and everyone's best fluctuates.
Yeah.
So it's like,
I didn't just mean you. We're all.
No. I'm saying no. Just like, no. What I'm saying is just at least you remember. It's like, well, everyone's best fluctuates. I think it's like, so what? Like I learned. Okay, this is something I've started doing just this year. I've started just going, yeah. So what? Fine. And that's just a shoulder shrug. I've learned so much can come from. Yeah.
Yeah, and the whole notion of not getting something spiritually, I just read about the law of attraction, but I'm doing it wrong. I'm like, well, how many years have you lived the way you've been living? And now, like, I should have just changed it all on a dime because I read a book.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, I did that.
That's another thing to add to the bullshit list.
Another thing to add to the
instantaneous results. Right. What's wrong with me? Why can't this happen?
We've got a beautiful Venn diagram now of bullshit, borderline bullshit, and not bullshit. So I appreciate that. Yeah.
Right. Right there.
The sacred geometry of bullshitness.
Yeah, exactly.
I think we have a diagram coming out soon.
We need to get people to contribute. What's borderline New Age bullshit? What's definite New Age bullshit? And what's New Age? That's good.
Yeah.
And if we map that for ourselves, we'd just see that thing shift and shape, all the time.
All the time, absolutely.
Oh gosh, yeah. It's always morphing. It's always changing.
But this is interesting because in the books we read, in the audios we listen to, and everything, it's chopping and changing there too. So oftentimes when you turn to a spiritual path, you get really confused because a lot of different authors and a lot of different teachers are saying different things. Like, are we supposed to go out there and take our life by the horns, or are we supposed to just let it be? It's so easy to be like, what do I do? And that's what, and that's why you have to just find your own path. And, and when you come across some information or it goes wrong, I can always recommend the shoulder shrug, because.
And so that's so perfect, because I felt the same way. I've read many books and gone to many different classes and so forth. And everything seems to be, there are some consistent messages, absolutely. But everybody seems to teach what worked for them. And so ultimately it does boil down to try everything, try nothing, take bits and pieces, discard what doesn't work for you, and piece together your own masterpiece along the way to making a masterpiece.
I think there should be a little disclaimer in the front of every kind of spiritual book, which says, if this is your first one, take about the next 5 to 10 years to figure out what's going to work for you. Because that it's so important. Let's look at my daily life. I love to sleep in. And some days it's like that was the right thing to do. I was letting it be. I was going with the flow. I was taking it easy. And some days it's like, you disgrace, because the early bird catches the worm, and you need to be, you need to take control and charge of your life, and you're not taking full responsibility. And it's like, I guess whatever book I read that time before is the reaction I have to sleeping in.
Well, that's when it really comes down to what's authentically you.
Absolutely.
We can find a cliche and a guru and a book to back up anything we choose to do, probably.
Yeah, we can. Yeah. And I learned that, Andy, from doing my master's in psychology, because this is how I used to write all my assignments. I'd have the idea of what I wanted to say, and then you go on to Google Scholar, you will find a paper that has been somewhere written over time that agrees with anything you want to say. So you are right. Like, we can find something to support so I guess it's finding what works for you, being authentically you. Real men feel.
I like every book I taught, every class I teach, every book I've written talks about, this is my experience, and I believe that your experience is your best teacher. So
yes,
if my experience inspires you to try something I'm talking about, great, but don't just believe what I'm saying, but trust your experience.
And don't trust anyone who swears to have the answer.
Right. Anyone that says this is the one way that's the ultimate bullshit detector.
That's the ultimate new age.
That is the ultimate bullshit.
Ultimate bullshit.
We are all in agreement on that one.
That is ultimate bullshit. It's so funny because in this world of I guess self-help books and publishing, one thing I've come to learn is publishers really want to know like what's your 12-step process, what's your technique, and I'm like I think the best books we've all read in that genre are memoirs. I feel of people telling you how they went and their journey and what they learned for them. It's not a 12-step program or a 5 pillars of or a So I just find that very interesting. That I guess what sells in that world is people do kind of want the person with the 12-step process, but how authentic is it? Once again, I'll shoulder shrug. I don't know.
Yeah.
I think it's important to get the language from all these books because some of them at that time in your life match what you need and what you need to hear or a way you need to express it. But again, take it all with a openness of possibility. Keep the possibilities open because that might change for you. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I completely agree.
Evan Taxi. Health and positive frequency chakras.
Yeah,
We're only borrowing our chakras.
that's right. I like that. In human form, it is borrowed. I can go with that.
Yeah,
sure,
I work
absolutely.
with when I do Akashic record readings with people often like, why am I done? Yeah, how come I'm not enlightened? Blah, blah. I'm like, if you were done, you'd be gone, right? So anytime you're complaining that there's still something to learn, I'm still hitting struggles, like, good, you're alive, right?
Good, you're alive.
Shrug.
Yeah, exactly.
So, I'm alive. It's all good. But
yeah, exactly.
And I think
Doesn't matter.
the greatest, because Andy, I can really relate to the stories you share in your experience, because I'm definitely a personality type or a human, which I can go to them places of feeling so depressed and go to such dark moments. And I think the biggest kind of relief for me that stops me going there anymore is that I guess a little bit of apathy never hurt anybody. It's saying I can't get so caught up in everything I'm feeling because I'm a feeler, I'm such a huge feeler. It's like I can't take everything to the extreme, and I've come to take a lot of things with the maybe, who knows, and I take a lot of the spiritual teaching which comes my way with maybe, and I'm not saying no, it's not true. So the universe is all expansive and we can have anything we want, maybe, and that feels nice.
I'm very fond of saying I'm neither right.
What was that, Apio?
No, go ahead. Oh, I was going to say I'm very fond of saying I'm neither right nor am I wrong. This is just what I have experienced. These are the conclusions I have reached based off of my experiences. You can agree or you can disagree. Shoulder shrug. I don't care.
No defense here at all. And this goes back to what we were saying before about, I guess, when I first started out, when I was watching The Secret and I was 18. It was, wanting to share it with people. And I insisted, they had to get it, and I could be quite defensive. Whereas, if Jim, Barbara, and Colin don't want to believe in what I'm saying or think I'm absolutely crazy, I'm going to shrug my shoulders at that. And that's another thing. People often because I do that Guy Who Loves the Universe. It goes out to about 15,000 people, and every now and then, a troll will pop up. And I've had a lot of sometimes they're often doctors, which I find interesting. Who'll be commenting on what I'm saying, this is bullshit. What are you doing? Or this wouldn't work in the emergency room. And sometimes it gets a bit more brutal than that, some of the comments you get and some of the emails you get. And friends will say to me, does it not bother you, these kind of haters online? And I honestly am it doesn't bother me at all. It's literally it's fine, shoulder shrug.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. When I first started, it bothered me. If the first thing I ever did got comments like, you suck, go die. I'm like, whoop, that's the end of this. But now I laugh them off. That's great.
Yeah. Well, no, yeah. Well, I think one of the first one I got was, you should go and swallow razor blades. And I swear it must have been a moment of some divine enlightenment, because I went, and I've never gave any emotional sadness to online haters. But that's
go back to them. Have a nice day. That's what
have a nice day. Yeah.
Have a nice day.
Have a nice day.
Yeah, I think it's in a speech that you were at that it said one guy, I wish you the most painful death possible. I was like, have a nice day. What am I going to say?
Love ya.
Love ya. Mean it.
I always say,
is there an emoji for the shrug?
I don't think there is an emoji for the shrug.
What was that, Sarah?
Oh, saying Sarah?
I said I always say it's better if he takes it out on me than his wife or his children or or her than her coworkers.
Because because I can take it, because I'm emotionally resilient enough to take it, and that's come down to God, that's a whole topic, resilience, isn't it? And that comes down to our practice or allowing ourselves to express how we feel. It's I've come to be very resilient, and how easy a life is from that place, because it's impossible. And this is another thing with spirituality is it's impossible to guarantee yourself a life of just joy and bliss. And no matter where you're at or what point you're at, these times are going to come up. But, if you're allowing yourself to express your emotions, if you've got a place to go, like your mindful practice or your spiritual practice, you just become very naturally more resilient, and life is so much easier. I mean, I know when I thinking back to the times when I was in such a dark place, just going around on a general day was hard work. The thoughts in my head were hard, it was heavy, and I kind of just scheduled everything around the times I could just go to my room and be alone. Like everything was a chore on top of doing nothing. And it was hard, because who has a life where they can just do nothing most of the time? So the more resilient I've become over time, life's easier, and not even just easier, so much more enjoyable. And that's what I love the universe for, because I get to have an enjoyable life now, and there's a time I didn't.
And to your point about joy and bliss, living in joy and bliss all the time, you can experience joy and bliss every single day, but you're also going to experience a range of other emotions every single day as well. When you say you're going to experience, you can experience this every day, they sometimes misinterpret that to mean all the time. And that's not the case. Every day does not mean all the time. It just means literally every day you are going to experience those moments of joy and bliss. And those moments of joy and bliss may be more frequent than the moments of no joy and bliss, or the moments of contrast. But you're going to experience everything. And that one thing I consistently say whenever I'm channeling, or whenever I am working with classes and so forth, is when it comes to your emotions, they are supposed to flow. The natural state of our emotions is flowing. Let them flow and let them go.
Flow and let them go.
Period.
I like that. I haven't heard that before.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you've got to tune in more often then.
Yeah.
Well, I do got to tune in more often. Right? Do you say that a lot, Appio? Oh.
I do say it a lot. Yeah.
I will tune in. I like this.
Cool. Well, since we started late with the blab chaos, I'm not even sure how long we've been going, but it's coming up to 50 minutes since we were going to start. So just to respect everyone's time, I want to point that out, and just thank you, Sarah Rose, for jumping in today, and thank you, SeanPatrick, for joining us.
You're so welcome. Be my pleasure.
And what's the best way for people to find you?
People can find me most if you do a Facebook search for That Guy Who Loves the Universe. That's where you'll find me.
Okay. I threw it in the chat once there too. And Real Men Feel, we have a Real Men Feel Facebook group where you can come and chat and share between shows, during shows, whenever you want. It's never closed. And Appio, thanks again for being here. And what's the best?
Absolutely.
What's the place?
It's always a pleasure.
What's the best place to find you, Appio?
Best place to find me would be either on Facebook at Appio Hunter, the Emotion Emancipator, or my website, which is appiohunter.com. I'm adding it to the chat.
And we're back next week with another live show, Tuesday, hopefully around 5 p.m. Eastern. We'll see what happens with Blab. And we have the Angel Encourager, Pete Cassaboon, greeting us, joining us.
Nice.
And,
yes.
Yeah, that'll be a wild one.
A lot of fun.
I shall be tuned in, and I'll see you guys then.
Oh, yeah.
Beautiful. And thanks again, everyone.
So much love.
And hey, we're on iTunes now. You can listen to us there.
Yeah, that's right. Yes. Yeah. So we are on iTunes. You can download them and listen to them in your podcast app. So or whatever app you use to listen to podcasts.
Comment and get ratings. That's important.
Yeah. Super.
Yes. Comment and get ratings. Absolutely. Bye. All right. You guys have a great day now.